And we begin tonight with shocking revelations about the General Motors recall. A new report says that at least 74 people have been killed in crashes related to the faulty ignition switches. Now, that number is higher, much higher than the 13 deaths GM has already acknowledged. Joining me now to help make sense of this information, the car coach, Lauren Fix, and attorney Bob Hillard, who represents the families of some of these crash victims. Lauren, to you first. This is a Reuters analysis of data. They've combed through lots of information. They bump up the numbers of people they estimate who died in these accidents. Do they have it right?
Well, some of it we don't know, but I do think that when you look at this report, it appears as though these are related. I haven't seen the reports specifically. I'm sure the attorney that's with us, this gentleman, has looked through more of the reports than I've had access to. But I think one of the things is if you've had a problem or you know someone that's had a problem and it's ignition related or airbag related, it's highly likely it's related to this ignition switch. And that is a big concern because it does fall on the old GM.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because we do have some information about that tonight. GM blaming the old GM, Bob Hillard, in a response to a suit that you brought on behalf of a young boy paralyzed in Pennsylvania in an accident some years ago, they say, because of a faulty ignition switch. What does it mean that GM in this response to your suit is saying it's the old GM? Is that the line they're going to maintain from now on?
Good afternoon, Jerry. It seems to be, even though their CEO directly represented to Congress and to the Senate, that was not going to be the case. I was stunned when I read that document today where they said, and I'm quoting, GM did not design this car, GM did not manufacture this car, and GM did not sell this car. When in fact it was GM. They're simply saying there is an invisible line beyond which they are not going to be responsible for.
And that invisible line, of course, is the bankruptcy. They're maintaining that it's two totally different companies, that the old GM pre-bankruptcy is a different company from the new GM, emerged from bankruptcy, but it's really hard to tell because a lot of the players are the same. I want to read you, we have exclusively now to Fox Business a response from General Motors, GM. This is what they have to say tonight. General Motors, they say, has taken responsibility for its actions and will keep doing so. We also have acknowledged that we have civic and legal obligations relating to injuries that may relate to recalled vehicles. That is why we retained Kenneth Feinberg to advise us of what options may be available to deal with those obligations. Lauren, to you, what's your response to this statement? And are they waiting for Feinberg to make some kind of public statement or give some kind of report before they move forward?
I think they really don't have a choice. I mean, the first thing that happens when you're in a situation like this that happened, you know, in the past is you need to have all the attorneys read through every detail and find out how they link together. You need a paper trail. And at that point, there will be a legal response. I think that at this point, to just make a frivolous comment from any PR agent or someone who represents GM would not be wise. It's best to just say we're investigating it and we're going to give you a real answer once they get the documents and they're able to do the same thing as any attorney would do, is you would read through all the documents and connect the dots. And I think at this point we know that these ignition switches went out to a lot of vehicles. And my concern is that I've talked to multiple people who say I don't have a GM car, when at the time they had 8 brands, and that ignition switch went into multiple vehicles over multiple years. And until we go deep into looking at all accidents that happened at that time with ignition switch problems, with airbag problems, and even collisions, we need to know before we can make any final conclusions.
So it sounds to me like Lauren's saying let's have a multi-year investigation. I don't understand. How long can we wait? And what do you say, more importantly, to this GM statement? Because they're saying we've taken responsibility. Have they?
Absolutely not. And to answer the question you asked at the top of the hour, is that number is wrong, Jerry. It is way low. You know, we are in the trenches. We're the ones that are getting the calls, and we are investigating cases from potential clients. And to date, we have over 70 deaths that are related to the airbag failing to deploy in recalled vehicles where it was a deployable event. And I promise you, if that's just the calls that my law firm has received, it's not even the tip of the iceberg. What GM hopes is what you just suggested. Let's drag this out. Let's hope for a different issue going on in the world, so no one will look at GM as we quietly tell this little paralyzed boy, you're out of luck. We're sorry we did this to you, but you don't have your day in court, because even though there is nothing different about our company now, we have the protection of bankruptcy, which, by the way, if they lose that protection because of the fraud, if the bankruptcy judge says you don't get this protection, they have now bet the company on this one issue. And if they lose, the company may not survive.
Is fraud a long shot, Lauren?
Well, I think that the truth is that at some point GM's going to have to take responsibility, which they already have, for these ignition switches. And at that point, we can't wait and wait and wait. You're right. We have to get on this right away. And unfortunately, there has been deaths, and many of these have been young people, too, which is also really sad, although any death is very sad. And I think that we do need to get in on this, and I think there needs to be a fund put together. And the truth is, I don't believe, because of the way the bankruptcy was structured, that there really is proper protection for the old GM. And here's the big picture. When the old GM has to pay the bills, it's going to be on you and I, the taxpayer.
Wow. Okay. Bob, do you want to respond to that quickly? We're going to have to run here, but I'll give you a quick response.
Well, there's a number of issues. You know, the shareholders are going to wonder what's going on. The victims are certainly going to look at Ken Feinberg now and say, like my client, Trenton Buzzard, who is the paralyzed little boy, it seems like the underlying message is, if you don't like what Mr. Feinberg offers, then this is going to be your alternative. You're going to fight us in bankruptcy. And, you know, what we tell GM is we're prepared to fight that. GM, the fraud is not that long shot.
All right. Thanks to both of you. You guys both did a great job. Lauren and Bob, thanks so much.